Our election analyst, Tom Connell, has called Kooyong for Monique Ryan overnight, but it's very tight. Do you think Josh Frydenberg could have won the seat, and is this a missed opportunity for him?
I don't... Look, I think Amelia Hamer ran a good campaign. You got to remember, I mean, Monique Ryan had one of the highest primary votes in 2022 of all of the Teals, in the low 40s from memory. So she was always going to be a difficult one to knock off. I think Amelia Hamer has run a good campaign. Look, Josh was not interested in running at the last election, so it's a bit of a hypothetical, you know. But I think, you know, you see we were up against it, and Tim Wilson had a great result in Goldstein. I think we've probably hung on in Bradfield. But in the other Teal seats, to be honest, you know, we made up some ground, but we didn't win them back. And in some of the Teal seats, we went backwards. You know,
but Josh could have won that, and then he could be leader. Let's face it.
Well, it's something for Josh to think about. There's often these sliding doors moments in politics, right, where you choose not to take a path. But, you know, I think Josh has said he remains open about his political future. I'd like to see him involved at some point in the future, but how and when that comes about is a matter for him.
What do you make of Jacinta Price's defection and her immediately running for deputy leader?
Well, look, she's welcome as a member of the CLP. As I understand it, she's welcome to sit in either the Liberals or the Nationals party room. For her first 3 years in Parliament, she chose to sit in the Nationals party room. She's now welcome to sit in the Liberals party room. There's no particular process she needs to go through other than advise the CLP executive, I think, and that's been done. So, look, you know, as we welcome the addition, but I'm also conscious that some of the Nationals feel quite aggrieved about this, and I can understand their feelings in that regard as well.
She got to do her time before she becomes deputy leader, or is it time to throw a bit of caution to the wind on that one?
Well, she's perfectly entitled to put her hand up. You know, if she's been accepted into the Liberal party room, any of us can put our hands up as deputy leader. And I think the party room will decide that. People will have different views about that issue, though, I think.
Do you think she's a future leader?
Well, she needs to be in the lower house to be a future leader. So I think there's a lot of people who could be future leaders who are in the Senate at the moment, but not in the House.
Would you rate yourself in there?
No, and I'm sorry, I'm hasten to add, I'm not including myself here, but until that time, it's just that.
Yeah, sure. I guess she could have run for Lingiari. Now, do you believe it's possible the coalition will split? Because it seems likely that the Nationals, according to my information, will dump the 2050 net zero target.
Look, I think, you know, we need to revisit a lot of things after this election result, and, you know, the arrangement with the Nationals, the coalition agreement, is one of those, in my view. We need to make sure that that agreement and our partnership is working in both of our interests. It can't be, you know, one party's interests at the expense of the other. So I think, you know, once new leaders are chosen, I'd expect the leaders of both parties to sit down and work out some of this stuff. But at the moment, I'd say, you know, look, the Liberals' poor electoral fortunes is not helping the Nationals at all, because it means they're never going to get back into government. So, you know, neither they nor us have an interest in the Liberals' political stocks continuing to fall.
Well, the Nationals were big drivers of the nuclear policy. Do you think it's time to dump that policy?
I think it's time to revisit that policy, but I think that's not unique. I mean, any and all the policies we took to the election, we will need to review and revisit. Doesn't mean we're going to dump them all, but it also doesn't mean we automatically keep them. And I think with that policy, you know, my view is that the public is not hostile to nuclear power generation, but the concern they have, and Labor weaponised this and used it as a scare campaign, is how will it be paid for and funded, and what will the cost be? And I think that, you know, undoubtedly that hurt us during the campaign. People, you know, on booths and at polling stations were raising this as a concern, that how are you going to pay for nuclear? As I said, Labor weaponised that against us, but we need to have a better answer to that.
Dave Sharma, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks,
and good luck with your decision on Tuesday.